Good morning. How's everybody doing out there? Hey, this is some nice change of scenery we got going on here with the weather, more daylight coming in. I didn't have a song this morning. I couldn't think of one. I mean, I could think of some, but not anything that would, apply to the energy that we're facing, right? And we're moving towards. So I just left it off. No grand performance this morning from me. So you're probably grateful. Anyway, so we went to the cemetery this morning. We went to a different one that I don't normally go to because there's some restrictions there, and I just don't want the challenges and I don't want the hassle and all that. But on the weekends, there isn't really anybody there to, cause any kind of ruckus per se. So it was a beautiful morning. I like to get up and get moving and, get our walk out of the way, and that revitalizes me, and with these frigid temps we've had for, I don't know, up until about a week ago, for a month, it was difficult to get out there. I have, I'm going to say this wrong, I know I am. I have what they call Raynaud's, right? I'm sure I said it wrong. Maybe I'm in denial about it, so I don't want to download it and keep the correct pronunciation in my head. But it's something that Scandinavian people can have a tendency to be challenged with, and your fingers turn white. So I can't just bundle up and go out and like a lot of other people can and get the results that I need. So I have to be careful, with the temperatures now, which is a bummer. Anyway, so we got our walk in this morning. It was amazing. It was nice. Went to Starbucks. I love these pineapple matchas. Love them. So I'm having a treat this morning. But I have some great stories for you. First of all, I want to start with the planetary trends that are going to be active this week. So it always is good to kind of know, even if you don't really buy into it, it's nice to have an idea, right? What we may be facing, so we can kind of schedule ourselves accordingly. I don't think anyone should just freeze. Like, there are people that, oh my God, it's Mercury retrograde, I can't go anywhere, I can't do anything. No, you can. It's fine. You just have to be a little bit more conscious of your time and energy and that kind of a thing. So this week we have kind of some weird, foggy, intuitive weirdness, energy, planetary stuff coming up. But I like it, and I have to write it down because I forget. And then you know how I ramble off somewhere and can't keep things straight anyway. So what I like about this is, as we're approaching spring, it's giving us the opportunity to kind of reassess things. So Wednesday on March 10th, the Sun and Neptune, which is the planet of hidden influences and intuition and illumination and the old man in the sea, basically. Okay, the Sun and Neptune are going to connect. And we're going to feel this sort of on either side. A lot of times I talk about these planetary trends, and I say, hey, this is only for the day. Like if there's something like with Mars is clashing with some, another planet, and it can create this, frustration or anger or whatever the case may be, you know, and I always remind you guys, okay, this is just for a day, so let's not have a temporary planetary trend affect something on a permanent level, you know? We don't want to get into it with somebody because we were gaslit by the cosmos, right? And then turn around and then it's the damage is permanent. But this energy is going to be like, we're going to feel it a couple days in either direction. Are you coming over here? Come on. Here comes Minkia. But it's going to trigger our intuition and support it. We're probably going to have some pretty wonky dreams during this time. Data that we're collecting is going to be supportive. So usually when we start downloading information that's important and imperative to like a path, it's best that we kind of sit on it a little bit, you know. Let's not make any strange proclamations during this time. Let's just go, yeah, I got that. You know, let's just make a mental note of it and watch, because over the next 3 or 4 days, there's going to be additional data that will come into play, and it'll start to make more sense. And you come up here high enough where they can see you. Because if they pick you up, you're going to scream bloody murder, because that's what you do. I know. Let me see. Come here. So anyways, Scout, you come up here. Come on. So embrace the messages you're getting during this time, whether it's from our loved ones on the other side, or whether it's from, you know, other mortals that we share this planet with. Just kind of go, I see, you know, make a mental note. And you can put your findings together later. And that is in Pisces. So that's why this influence is so magical and maybe a little bit intense. I think for the most part, people are going to be a little foggier with this planetary trend. It would be easy to get distracted. So we want to also pay attention when we're moving about, going from your home to the store or whatever. Don't depend on that person to be aware of you in their vehicle or whatever the case may be. All right? Are you going to say hi? So I'm going to pick her up so you can see what she's going to scream, because she's done that since she was a kitten. Look at that little pudding paws here. Look at this pudding paws. I know, we love you, Scout. You get a turn too. Look at this little pudding paws she has. She's unhappy with me because I brought home like 3 or 4 different varieties of canned food that she hates. And the food that she likes, I cannot find anywhere. So I ended up having to order it online. And I don't like to do that. I like to support local. But for whatever reason, have any of you noticed that now it's been a year this month since this pandemic, you know, took place or set into our orbit? Have you noticed that you're having trouble finding certain items when you're shopping? I don't know. I am. It's like, and it's not as though they have taken them out of the planogram, you know, like cut them out. It's just big open gaps, seems to me like no matter what store I've been going into lately. So that's what she's miserable about. Well, we'll do our best. I'll find something that she likes. She's very picky, and she's always hungry. Anyway, so that's what she's grumping about. I know it. And then Scout gets worried, so she gets up here, And now they're gonna cuddle up together here. Anyways, so, and then on Saturday, we have a new moon in Pisces. It's a good time to do any spiritual cleansing or physical cleansing. You may feel a little bit more fatigued, I meant to say, than normal. Go with it, all right? Don't overdo it. If you need a nap, you need a nap. Just take it, all right? Don't put pressure on yourself. I've talked about this before. If the moon can, on a full moon and a new moon, can activate the tides, right? The ocean, which is huge, you know, and we are what, 65% fluid, water, whatever. We're going to sense that, that energetic, whatever it is. For some reason, I have been extremely fatigued during a full moon, and during a new moon, I am really wired, all right? So, you know, with that said, just be gentle on yourself this week. Take in those you know, cosmic gifts, those messages. Take them in, make a note of them, process what the universe is telling you, and activate it when the time is right. You don't have to do anything with it or about it until then. Okay. And I caution you too, if you come across something hidden, or maybe something deceptive or whatever, maybe this wouldn't be the time to do this aha moment, all right? Not that it doesn't deserve an aha, or it doesn't deserve to be addressed, but just sit on it for a little bit, all right? You'll have a better idea how to move forward with it within a few days. So we don't need to have any proclamation days, all right? Okay, so that's about all. I think this could be a very pleasant week. I don't think that it's gonna be like anything. I just noticed people were a little bit on the argumentative side last week with the planetary trends. That kind of surprised me. My perception of what I was seeing last week was going to be kind of an energetic, you know, powerful, get her done kind of a vibe. And then I started to notice that people were like agitated, or, you know, weren't listening and wanted to, you know, plow over other people, or argue about stuff that, because they weren't listening, stuff that wasn't even relevant to the conversation. So I think this will be a nicer vibe all the way around. Okay, so I have a cool story to tell you. 20 some years ago, my son Jordan and I were invited along to Lilydale, New York, which is the spiritualist church kind of mecca or mega center, right? That's where everything was kind of formulated, and it's right on the border kind of Pennsylvania. And my son had just graduated from college, my son Jordan, and he had made a decision to go into film. He's a photojournalist for CNN now, but he was with Channel 13, I think, at the time. You got to start somewhere. Then he went to CLTV, which is no longer. And then from there, he was at WGN for 12 years. So during this, so he was just starting out filming, and so he was going to be like a second cam on this documentary my friend Jen Weigel was making. And so she invited us to come along, and it was I'd never seen anything like this. This place is, this little town is basically filled with mediums that live there. And so then they when it's cold, they go down to Florida, and I can't remember the place that they go for the winter months, but then they come back up to their homes, and they have Airbnbs, and then there's the big hotel that I can't think of the name of it. I should have done a little research before I started talking about it, but I didn't mean to get this deep into it. So I was staying at this woman named Jessie First. I was staying at her little Airbnb, which was lovely, and I was hearing music, and I was hearing spirits all the time when I stayed there. And my son ended up staying at the hotel, which was like The Shining. I'm not kidding. Anyway, so the lady that I was staying with, her name was Jessie First. So, of course, when I go other places, I want readings too, right? So I asked her, I got on her appointment book because I got a really, really good vibe off of her. The people in this community I found to be kind of competitive. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, but she was very open and very in tune, and so she gave me like an amazing reading, and she was very sweet to me. So before we got, and Jordan's grandmother, Grandma Sue, had passed away like in close proximity to time that we went there. So he was hoping for a message from his grandma. And so everybody in our crew in the documentary were maybe, talking to these people or trying these people. There was just only one I wanted to communicate with, and that was Jessie. So I told Jordan, you got to get a reading from her. You guys are going to love this story. You got to get a reading from her. She's amazing. She's right on point. And so I put him on the book, and I treated him to a reading. My son Jordan still gets readings from me, so he loves them. My son Austin's like, I'm good. Austin has a lot of prophetic dreams, and he downloads a lot of information when he's sleeping, and so he's like, and both of my boys saw enough of this growing up in a household, an unusual household like this too. So he comes out of the session, and he looks puzzled. And I know he's trying to make it nice because I had pumped this lady up so much, right? And so he's trying to be polite. But he's like, Mom, I don't know. And of course he was disappointed because his grandmother didn't come through, all right? Which, that's usually what happens in these cattle call things like this. It's like the strangest ones come through, and who you're hoping for doesn't. And anyways, I digress. So he comes out, he's like, Mom, none of what she said to me made sense at all. And I'm like, well, what did she say? And he said, well, she said that my Uncle Carl was here. And he was like really proud of me, and that I was in the industry, and that, to get on the train and really start moving forward with this, and you're on the right track, and you're on the right train, and, you're creative with film, you're going to end up in California. Mind you, this is like 23, 24 years ago, right? And, well, here's the clincher of it, right? He had an Uncle Carl who had passed away on his father's side, who was a mechanic. So none of this was making any sense to Jordan at all, right? But as he's telling me this, like, I'm looking at him and he's like, what, Mom? What? And I'm like, I've never talked to you about your Uncle Carl on my side. Because Uncle Carl was dead. He died. He was 35 years old. He died in 1945, all right? And he was my dad's older brother. And he worked for MGM Studios, my Uncle Carl did. And in fact, sorry, I got kitty hair all over my face. I hate to keep picking at it, but and at one point, Carol Lombard had bought him a leather coat. Like, they loved him there, all right? So, I never talked to my kids about my dad's older brother. I didn't really know much about him, and I didn't really think much about him, other than I knew that he was my grandma's favorite. No, I heard enough of those stories. But, so my eyes are getting wider and wider, right? And I'm like, Jordan, it's not that Uncle Carl. I'm so sorry. I have never told you and your brother that Grandpa John had a brother that lived in California and worked for MGM. And he's like, are you kidding me? And then he felt bad because, although he's, both of my boys are so polite, he felt bad because he was sort of, in his reading, kind of going, yeah, okay, whatever you say, right? But, so this week, and my Uncle Carl was buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery, which has an array of stars. Lucille Ball, W.C. Fields, Clark Gable, see if I can think any other ones off the top of my head. I can put a list below, right, of the people if you want me to. But, so I got from my brother-in-law, I got the address and the lot, or the plot number and everything, and I sent it to Jordan and Dre out in they live in Long Beach, which is, okay, some of you probably know this, but for those of you who don't, my son did end up moving to California 24 years later, 23 or whatever. So, which at the time, that sounded absolutely ridiculous to him, but this is life, right? So this past week, the kids went to Forest Lawn, and they found my Uncle Carl's grave, which I will put a picture of it in the comments when I'm done. So it was pretty cool. It was, and I've been out there since Jordan's moved there 3 times now, and hoping to get out there soon again. But I never even thought to go visit his grave. It was just like one of those things that had fogged over for me. So, but what I found out about that cemetery is there's no monuments in Forest Lawn. These are all flat stones. And the stars that made the decision to be buried there were in agreement with that they didn't want anything to disrupt the view of the hills. Pretty cool, huh? So, so all you see is this rolling open field and trees. And he's buried under a beautiful tree. It's another picture they sent. So I'll put those in the comments. So, so yeah, that's kind of my fun little ghost story for the week. It was so cool for Jordan to make that connection because he had messages for him, in the, in the past. So to kind of align with that energy was powerful for him, and cool for me. I was excited about it. So, so many times we're receiving messages from our loved ones on the other side, and we overthink them, or we don't take into consideration that our loved ones on the other side do work with us and support us, and many times they have strange ways of sending us signs. My mom, I may have talked about this before in previous videos that I've done. My girls and I were walking in Mississippi the summer before my mother passed away, and there was this little red fox that was always making sure she made her presence known to us, and so precious. And then around the fall, I didn't see her, and my girls would like communicate with her. I could tell because they'd be real quiet when they'd see her and cock their heads, and she'd be up on the berm and she'd walk along with us. It was like amazing, right? And then in the fall, like maybe September, I didn't see her anymore, and so I was worried. I thought maybe she'd been hit by a car on North 2nd Street, and I was just so worried, so distraught, and kind of kept trying to put her out of my mind. And in November, on the 24th of November in 2014 was my mom's funeral. She had passed away, and she'd been, let's rephrase that, she'd been released from her soul cage that was completely broken down, and so that night my son was determined, because the next day was my birthday, my son Jordan was determined to get me out at least for dinner, birthday dinner, because they were heading back to Chicago. He had to go back to work. So I didn't feel like it. I wasn't feeling good. I was freezing cold. At that time, unbeknownst to me, my thyroid was just crashing. So I was kind of all over the highway. And so later on, I took a nap. I was in agreement. They came and picked me up. And we're going up the hill on Prospect Street because I wanted Alvarez. That sounded good. And so we're going along Scandinavian Cemetery and walking right down the sidewalk. It's this little fox. And when my son pulled over, it sat down like a dog or a cat. It just sat down in the middle of the sidewalk. He pulled over, and I rolled the window down, and she was cocking her head. And all that worry I had about, what had happened to her was diminished right at that second. And that was a message from my mother that she was happy with the funeral, right? And Fox is like, you can be seen when you want to be seen, and you can be like a stealth fighter and fly under the radar when you don't want to be seen. And Fox tells us when we see images of foxes, or like going along the side of the road or in a field or whatever, that our family is protected. And there was kind of a weird sort of thing going on at that time, like my family has a patent on strangeness, because I know all of you out there do experience these things, but that's what makes us great, right? The diversity and the challenges and the components that have made us stronger are part of our growth and development. So I saw the fox and I was like, oh, okay. The things that I was worried about, my mom had a handle on it. That's what she was telling me. That's why she sent me the fox. And then in the spring, she sent me a kind of a beat up crow fledgling that was pretty tore up. Excuse me. And I started feeding her, and I can identify her from the other crows that come, because she has, when on this wing, her left wing, she has a couple feathers that hang down because there's some kind of nerve damage there. First, when I would see her, I would think, oh good, she's gonna leave a feather in the driveway. But when she's walking around the driveway, they never fell out, and now it's been a few years now, because that was 2015. She comes back with her family and her tribe, or as they call it, murder of crows. So she comes back like daily, and her offspring come back. So when we're looking for messages, many times they come in forms that we have to do a little investigating with. And crow means like justice and balance and karmic justice and fairness. So, to name a few. So with that, we have, those are a couple circumstances or situations that I wanted to share with you guys. So that was kind of my week, and that really was the bright spot of my week, is that Jordan and Dre took the energy to go over there and walk around this very huge cemetery to find his great uncle and my uncle's grave. So, nothing can come, but blessings can come from those things, So, all right, well, I think that's all I was gonna throw out there for today. I like the energy. I like it that we're coming closer and closer to spring, and there's evidence in the air, and that supports that lighter, that lighthearted vibration within us, kind of breathing new life into us. Sometimes spring can be a little harder on us than the fall, because whenever we are exposed to like a climate setback, then it can mess with us, or do we get inspiration, then we crash. But we're rolling on the upswing now, and these communities are starting to open, and whatever our pre-pandemic normal was, it's eventually going to adopt that back into our communities, and our friends and our families and our communities. So we all can feel this glimmer of hope, right? So with that, in a couple weeks, it's been a year since I started doing these. And the reason I started them was because, with the initial lockdown, my business was influenced by that as well. And so I wasn't serving my community, and it was making me crazy. And there wasn't, the stores were closed, there was only so many times a day I could get out and walk my dogs. And so this is why I started the Spiritual Pep Talk, just to serve my community, I guess. That'd be the best reason or description why I started them. So this morning I was contemplating, do I want to keep doing these? I mean, does everybody feel like they're back to normal enough where they maybe don't need that spiritual support? I'm not sure. But, have I run through every story I can run through? I don't know. But, so I'm just kind of contemplating if I should continue or not. But until then, nothing is resonating here in my gut that's saying it's time to stop it or whatever. So I guess I'll try to find ways to blab at ya on Sundays, Sunday morning at 11:11, and or topics to talk about to keep everybody in sync. A little vitamin B12 spiritual shot in the arm. How's that? Right? Okay. So, with that said, we want to be mindful of wellness, right? We want to take our D3, get outside with nature. It makes such a difference. Like last week, I was so foggy because I didn't get out and walk. And the temperature wasn't quite right prior to me doing this. And when I re-listened to what I was blabbing about last week, I was like, well, that was a bit of a sleeper. And I had overdone it on Saturday too, so I was exhausted and not really in step. So today I feel supercharged, right? So I wanted to share that energy with you guys as well. So, okay. So we want to stay well. Our D3, eat immune boosting foods. It's always a tongue twister for me. Get outside, connect with nature. That will inspire you. It will replenish your depleted energetic reservoir, like fill it back up. And self-love is key. So do things that demonstrate or adopt the self-love, whether it's get a massage or treat yourself to whatever your favorite meal is. Self-love is key, so let's try to stay in that vein, because we can pour our energy out everywhere else and all of a sudden our gas tank is empty, right? And we want to stay well here. This is where I see the challenges for people I've been associating with. That the mind is challenged. Okay, we don't want that. Be mindful of how much you're taking in, whether it be social media or your favorite news channel or whatever it is. Be mindful that it's in small doses, because if it's working you up, that's not going to be good for here. And when things get challenged and highly charged up here, then it's going to make us sick here. It's true. So, all right. Okay, so you guys go about your day-to-day. Enjoy. Oh, you know what? Who you didn't see? Scout. Scout. Hang on. Scout, come here. Come say hi. Come on. Come up here. You better check on your kitty who's on my lap. Can't see. Come on. Come on up. Come here. Come all the way up here. Look at... No, that's not close enough. Come on. Come here. Come on. There she is. I haven't heard yet the outcome of the... I haven't heard the outcome of America's Favorite Pet yet. I think they closed it Thursday at 11. So I think we made it to the top 5, right? So I'll let you know, because it's Sunday already, and that's kind of how it rolls. It just goes kind of quiet for a couple days, and I don't know. And I know it's frustrating because, you know, this seems to be dragging out, and I feel like I'm nagging people. Please vote for Scout. Please vote for Scout, you know. And I appreciate that you guys have voted for her. And she's an amazing puppy. Yes. And she is America's favorite dog, I think. Oh, who's that? Your sister's coming? Oh, is she coming in here? Anyways, all right, you guys. So I almost forgot to have Scout say hi to you. I know you wait for her because she's amazing, right? Right? Come on, say hi to everybody. Aw, such a little tuckus. Yes, you are. She's a good girl. She's tired too. Yes, because we had a nice long walk this morning. I feel so good right up here. And physically, it feels good too. So, all right. Oh, no, you're tired. You were sleeping. Mommy made you get up here and say hi. I know it. Okay. Andante doesn't come in here, not because she's restricted anywhere. She really likes the back, the sunroom. That's kind of her because she gets warm, and it's cooler back there for her. So she doesn't, and she's really tired because she's a little older. I know it's amazing. She's a little older, so she likes to stay back on, you know, in the cool area. But one of these days she'll come in here. So, but she's always a part of our family as well. So, all right, with that said, I'm closing it up now, okay? Mind, body, spirit, self-love, right? I'll see you next week, 11/11. Until then, enjoy the amazing weather and new and open opportunities that are coming as a result of the days that are arriving. Okay? All right. Don't forget self-love, and I love you guys. All right? It matters to me that you're well because I care. All right? So, okay, next week. Take care.